Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Toon Reviews for the 11 o'clock show. Thank you very much for joining me this morning. Hope you're all well. Just before we get started, as usual, guys, if you do enjoy today's show, please do give it the thumbs up. Very important we keep the likes coming in on YouTube so that people like yourselves can find the channel via those search results. If you are new and you like what you see, please click the logo in the bottom right-hand corner, then click subscribe and come be part of this incredible community here on the Toon Review. And also hit that notification bell, which will notify you when we schedule our live shows or we indeed upload any recorded ones. You can obviously become a member of the Toon Review if you do so wish. Some brilliant prizes coming up for our members in the next couple of weeks. Please do hit the join button just underneath myself. And of course, as usual, you can donate to the channel if you do so wish by hitting that $sign at the bottom of the live comments. And that will also guarantee your comment to be read out on the show. So thank you very much in advance for all of that. Right, moving on. Obviously, today's show, I've put a headline there of possible loan deals from Saudi Arabia. Now, this was an interesting report in the Chronicle, actually, looking at certain players that Newcastle United could possibly look at to bring in on loan from Saudi Arabia. Now, obviously, we know that in Saudi, it's very difficult to get the players over because it's in the middle of their season as well. So they might not want to lose any players. They might be wanting to keep their players. They might want to just, keep things going. However, with PIF situation and owning a lot of those players already at the club, it's going to be interesting, isn't it, to see if we do get anybody in from Saudi Arabia. But it's very quiet on the transfer front. And of course, I did that show yesterday regarding Dominic Solanke. By the way, I must have to say, some people are complete buffoons, by the way. And that's the nice way of putting it. There was some absolutely ridiculous comments on that show yesterday, who'd watched the video and calling me every name under the sun, and been quite abusive. All I'm doing is basically sitting here discussing with you what's in the media reports. It's not coming from me. I'm not talking garbage. I'm talking about what's in the media. And I feel like that opens up to conversation, whether it's live or whether it's recorded, it doesn't matter. If I'm telling you stuff, it's stuff I've looked at in the media, and I'm not saying somebody's definitely coming or not coming. It's ridiculous. So if you're going to be sending me abuse like that, you'll just get banned from the channel or banned from being able to comment because you're absolute idiots. Quite frankly, it's ridiculous, some of the abuse that not just I get, but other people on this channel get. It's just nonsense, to be honest, because the media is there to create discussion, whether you agree with it or not. It's there to create discussion, and that's exactly what we do here. We have conversations, whether it be live on the show or with you guys in the chat. So if you're just going to come on and just stick abuse in there, like I said to the initial person who sent quite an abuseful message, go back and watch your mate's channel, who seems to be in the know, and enjoy that channel and sod off this one. Simple as that. But anyway, the report was very interesting because it named one player I would love to see at Newcastle United, whether that be for a 6-month spell or for the foreseeable future. Now, there is a lot of people who will think, is a loan deal good, or is a full deal done, a full transfer? Because there is reports coming out of Saudi that there is quite a few players over there now who are a little bit fed up with playing there. There's nothing happening. They want to be away because the crowds have dropped. The passion of what it used to be when it first kicked off at the start of the season, when all these superstars signed for various clubs in Saudi, it makes me kind of wonder. Footballing reasons or money reasons. It was clearly money reasons, and they're now starting to feel like they're missing the football side of it, and they want to come back to Europe. So, to be honest, it's crazy to think that certain players are out there in Saudi who've still got a lot to offer football, because at the moment the Saudi league isn't really taking off. There was all that rigmarole at the start of the season, how big it was going to be, sign all the star names, and it's never worked out like that. So for me, I can understand the players wanting to come back, but maybe they shouldn't have gone in the first place. You know, they saw the big dollar signs and they thought, oh, let's go and be part of something incredible. And it hasn't really worked. So listen, I'm very interested in one of the players that's named immediately, and that's Riyad Mahrez. The Chronicle have named these 5 players, or a few players here, who I want to discuss with you guys this morning to see what, you know, you guys are feeling. Maxi is not one of them, okay? I have to stress that. Maxi is not one of them. So, you know, it's just, I better put that straight out there just in case anybody's thinking that Maxi's going to come on here. It's not happening. Riyad Mahrez was the first one mentioned. And, of course, he swapped Manchester City for Al Ahly in Jeddah in the summer. Mahrez is a potential option Newcastle could look to bring in on a temporary basis. Now, they wouldn't probably look at a full deal, a full transfer because of the money that Riyad Mahrez would cost, wages, etc. He scored 8 goals in 19 appearances in the Saudi top flight so far this season. But of course, he has a magnificent experience of the Premier League. He's won the Premier League with Leicester, Manchester City. This guy is very experienced. He's still only 32. So for me, he's still got a bit to offer yet. And if that is just the final part of this season, then I don't think I'd actually mind Mahrez playing in Miggy's position. You know, you've got to think, who would you rather see there, Miggy or Mahrez? Who's got the better finishing? Who's got the better final product? It's Mahrez. But the problem is, Mahrez, of course, is away at the AFCON, I believe. But you know what it is? He's in he's representing Algeria obviously in the AFCON. But his trickery, close control, and deadly finishing would make him a deadly asset for any Premier League club, says the Chronicle. So, Mahrez for me, I mean, I've been a big fan of Mahrez for a long time. I think he's absolutely class. He's a brilliant player, and you know the experience he could bring. Now, one thing about Mahrez that would probably, you know, put me off a little bit would be, is he committed enough? Now, what I mean by that is, would he play the Eddie Howe way? Would he track back and defend and things like that? Because I didn't really see that when he played certainly not for Leicester and maybe not for Man City either. And I think Pep got the best out of him because he knew where to play him and he knew what sort of game plan to give to Mahrez. And of course, cutting in from that right-hand side and, you know, his left foot was deadly. So for me, massive yes for Mahrez. I'd love to see him at Newcastle United. Barry the Bee says, these loan deals from Saudi feel like when Man City got in all the mercenaries when they were starting out. Well, the only mercenary that they brought in, I think, was Robinho, wasn't it? So I think, you know, he was the first major signing that Man City made under the new regime there. And it didn't really work out at all. But I think they've done things a little bit differently from then. But yeah, there is mercenaries out there. And I think that's just a fact of football, guys. There's mercenaries everywhere you look, in every walk of life, who will just see pound signs and think, right, I'm going for the money. So yeah, for me, I don't think Mahrez is one of them. I think he's got a decent attitude, but is tracking back. Would he play the Eddie way? That's the thing. Yeah, I've also did want to mention about the Gambia national team on the aeroplane. Hopefully they're all safe. I know there's a couple of players quite shook up by that, the lack of oxygen in the plane, etc. If you haven't seen it, there is reports on social media and various news outlets about it, if you want to go and read about it. Really nasty. Some people say no, that the plane was too small for who they were carrying with the oxygen levels, etc. So I don't know. Obviously there will be something about that. So yeah, let's hope everybody is okay, including Minte, of course, who was on that plane. But everybody is apparently fine. Some very shook up by the experience, though. So we wish them very well. Of course. Well, I'm seeing Adam Johnson's name in the conversation here, but Julie says no one will touch Adam Johnson with a barge pole. No, I don't think they will. I think his football career is well down the pan now, and it's his own damn fault. Did anyone see? Yeah, exactly. Minte is okay. And there's another one. The cabin oxygen supply failed on the plane. I mean, incredible, really. You read these stories about certain stuff going on aircraft at the minute, and it is very, very scary. Mark says, to be fair, Sky Sports News are mooting what a good loan Mitro would be for us this morning, and for once I totally agree. I saw that, but Mitro's not on this list either. Look, Mitrovic, for me, has done really well since he left Newcastle. He's matured, and that's the big thing that Mitro needed to do. I don't think Rafa necessarily managed Mitro very well. I think, there was downfalls of Rafa, despite him doing really well. But at the same time, I don't think he was managed very well at Newcastle United. He was fresh. He was hungry. He had a discipline problem, which I don't think Newcastle managed very well at all. And that comes down to the coaching staff. However, Mitro now is in a very different place in his life, of course. He went to Fulham. He did exceptionally well at Fulham. He's now in Saudi. There's been no news or media outlets reporting that Mitro is one of the unhappy players out there and wants to come back. Would I think he'd jump at the chance of coming back to Newcastle? 100% I do. 100% I do think he'd come back to Newcastle. But I don't think Newcastle have any interest in Mitro. Now, think about that what you will. I just don't think Eddie, he's an Eddie Howe player. But could we do with his physicality? Absolutely. But he's not on this list either. Mike says, yes, the money is fantastic over in Saudi, but it's a different culture. And sometimes it's not a bed of roses in another league. Exactly. And I think people are finding that out. Some of the big names that are over there have already stated they're not very happy. They want to come home or they want to go and play in Europe. It's just incredible. Heard rumours that Barcelona are in for Bruno, player swap, etc. Susan, what I will say is there's lots of rumours going around about Bruno now. And of course, in the show yesterday, I touched on Bruno and about his contract. PSG have been banded around saying that they're going to meet the release clause. But people have to remember as well that just because the release clause would be met by a certain team doesn't mean that that's automatically going to make Bruno go. Bruno himself has to agree to go to that club. It's all right them offering to pay the clause, etc. But the player himself has to want to go. And if the player himself doesn't want to go, then there's no issue for me. But look, I think at the end of the day, Bruno will go and play for one of these giants. There's no doubt in my mind he's got the talent to do it. But it's when. And I don't think it's certainly not going to be January at all. If anybody's watched the interviews with Bruno recently, you will see how much he loves the club. Travis, welcome to the Toon Review Members Club. Thank you very much for signing up to that. And welcome to the family, my friend. Very sad news about Ericsson. Thoughts are with him and his family. Absolutely terrible news this morning. Again, those that have read the news this morning, he's been on Swedish TV and said that he probably has less than a year to live due to cancer. I'm sick of hearing about people getting cancer. It's just this day and age. There should be a cure for cancer. I mean, all the technology these days, and it just astounds me that people are still losing their lives to this dreadful, dreadful disease. As people know, I've got Parkinson's, and I hope one day that there is a cure for that. I keep reading in various forums that new medication is coming out and things like that, and it's just really sad that in this day and age that people are still losing loved ones to this just awful, awful illness, and we will all be touched by it at some point in our lives, whether it be ourselves or family members, and it's horrible. It's heartbreaking. It's horrible, and we need to. Paul Rose makes a good point. There's big money in cancer, unfortunately. I've seen a lot of conspiracy theorists, etc., saying that they know fine well what the cure is, etc., but they won't because it brings a lot of money in. And if that's the case, then shame on everybody, really. But I mean, there's so much money involved in it. I just one day, hopefully, people may get the news that they have cancer. However, it's not the devastating news that it is today. that they can just get treatment and hopefully recover from it. This day and age, it's heartbreaking. It really is. But we wish Sven, Goran Eriksson, all our love and support. It's awful news. Crazy to think we had Mitrovic and Tony, and now they are both top strikers that most teams want. Sums up the previous owner, though, doesn't it? Well, look, I mean, what I'll say on Mitrovic and Tony, they were both under Rafa, and Tony wasn't managed well at all. And I think he was booted out the club before we saw the real potential in him. And of course, Rafa had Mitrovic with discipline problems. He couldn't trust him, and he thought it was best that they were moved on. Whether we agree with that now, who knows? Derek says, morning all from Cape Town. Thank you very much. Looney Tune says, PIF owns the top 4 teams. If they want them at Newcastle, there will be no discussion, and they can cook the books for us to only pay a small portion of the wages. I hope you're right. I mean, look, PIF will play a big part in anybody that comes into Newcastle United from the Saudi leagues. Let's be honest. It doesn't take an idiot to realise that. However, these players may not want to come to Newcastle. It's all about whether they want to come or whether they're targeting maybe a different club. Hamid says, Paul, do you think Eddie is able to pull the world-class players? The players we are being linked with, i.e. Sri Lanka, are players that will not win us trophies. I think at the stage we are now, Hamid, I think, I've done a lot of I've done a lot of thinking about various things with various players. And look, Solanke would probably be able to come in and do a job for us. Long term, I still don't believe he would be the answer. Short term, yes. Long term, no. I think if we do want to become that elite side, then we need better players than Solanke. But that's nothing against Dominic Solanke. All he can do is do what he's doing now, put the ball in the back of the net. That raises his profile, raises his value. But I believe the money that Bournemouth would want for Solanke, I think we can get better. But that's nothing against Solanke himself. If Solanke ever came to Newcastle, I'd support him 100%. Of course I would, just like any other player that would come to the club. But for me, I just genuinely believe that there is better players out there. Travis says, ignore the haters. Your channel is great and all you guys very informative. Only just became a member, but been listening to every show since the takeover. Thank you, Travis. Really appreciate that, mate. Baz says, this thing about being an Eddie-type player is paying me off. Makes you miss out on many great players. Maybe it does, Baz, but certain managers have certain beliefs and certain players that they want in who will fit their agenda. Whether we believe that or not, that is the way it is. Managers will have certain players who they will think can play that type of system. Managers have a preferred system. Eddie's preferred system, clearly 4-3-3. And he will be looking at the players that he can bring in that will suit that system. But at the moment, I just don't think Solanke is it. Ian says, I love Mitro. LFC will probably get him on loan. Saudi clubs are in the click with Liverpool. I'm so salty about this, crack me. Yeah, look, fair enough. I actually do agree with that. But then again, the situation wherein PIF might be in with Liverpool, but PIF own Newcastle United, and there's a big difference there. PIF are, I think, proven winners in the business world, and they will not settle for second best anywhere. If they invest money, they're investing money for a reason. Next player on the list on the Chronicles report is Edouard Mendy. Now, obviously, Mendy's a goalkeeper. And again, this is a one that I'm not very sure about because it says with Nick Pope not set to return until March, Champions League winner Edouard Mendy could help provide some stability for Newcastle between the sticks. He's 31-year-old, currently with Al Ali as well, who are third in the Saudi Pro League standings. Mendy is known for his excellent shot stopping and again with Premier League experience could help the Magpies in the second half of the season. Now, Mendy at Chelsea didn't really impress me, I have to say. I don't really think that he set the world alight at Chelsea. Obviously, he is a good goalkeeper. Chelsea wouldn't have signed him if he wasn't a good goalkeeper, and he wouldn't have had the profile. But I agree with Susan there. Susan Fagan says, I don't think we need a goalkeeper. I'm not convinced that a goalkeeper is right up there in the thoughts of the hierarchy at Newcastle at the moment. I genuinely don't. Now that Dubravka's found a bit of form, I think we can get away with not having to bring a goalkeeper in. However, that's not to say that me as a fan, would I like to see another goalkeeper come in? Probably yes, because Nick Pope's injury, this is the second time this has happened, and that's not to say that it won't happen again. And obviously, until March, the season doesn't go further, April into May, and then that's it, the season's over. So do we hang our hat on Dubravka and Karius to take us through to the end of the season? Maybe. I think a goalkeeper would probably be a target in the summer. What I would expect to happen is that they will assess Nick Pope when he's fit again. They will put him through rigorous training and make sure that he is 100% to go before they make any goalkeeping decision. I think Dubravka could be on his way in the summer, possibly Karius as well. So we need another goalkeeper in anyway. But at the moment, I think there's more stringent positions about certain goalkeepers. I mean, look, De Gea's been a big name mentioned many, many times, but De Gea himself, it's gone very, very quiet, hasn't it? So I don't know. If that's the case, would that not mean rich celebrities like Harrison will be able to pay for the cure? I think that's all BS. It's all about opinion, Looney Tune. I just think that cancer the way it is these days, I really do. Is there a cure out there? Are they? Look, it's all conspiracy theories. At the moment, there isn't a cure, and that's all there is to it. And like I say, we wish Ven all the best in the world. Bruno at Newcastle would be like Letitia at Southampton. What do you mean by staying there all his career? I think that's very optimistic. Mike says, yes, I got dystonia. It's a cross between Parkinson's and cerebral palsy. But like you, Paul, you just keep fighting and keep going. Thanks, Mike. And I wish you all the best as well, matey. Keep fighting. Keith Downey repeatedly saying he'd be surprised if we don't loan someone from Saudi this window. Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen a couple of things from Keith Downey talking about the loans, and he is convinced that we will bring somebody in from Saudi. He hasn't really mentioned what position that would be, which is interesting because, I think I've got to say that striker and right side of the forwards is where we need. Miggy can't do it all season. Look, he's very up and down, Miggy, isn't he? Do I think he's good enough? No. I think he's good enough against the lesser teams. But, when we play against Manchester City this weekend, if he's in the side, let's see how he does against the big sides. If he performs, brilliant. Because one thing that's been said is Miggy's played a lot of football this season. An absolutely massive amount of football. So it could be down that he's just played too much. So now that we're down to one a week game-wise, then maybe we'll see a different Miggy. But I definitely think they are looking at that side and a striker, possibly a 6 as well. A 6 for me, someone who just wins the ball and plays on. There's been stories about, again, Calvin Phillips this morning saying that he would love to play for Eddie Howe. So I don't think that's dead in the water yet. And of course, Calvin Phillips, I think, will move this month. But it depends if a club can come to an agreement with Manchester City over a loan fee, etc., and what the future would be after the loan finishes in the summer. Daniel says, it's like Michael J. Fox. He's been suffering with Parkinson's for years, and he's got foundation where there is so much money to research and find and cure. Yeah. When I got diagnosed, he was one of the first websites that I went on for information and hope more than anything. Just to see if there was hope out there for maybe a cure. It's horrible to battle every day. People close to me know how hard I battle with this illness. But doing things like this helps me. I've got a little sort of sheet in front of me so I don't get confused, telling me what I need to talk about on the show. But when I talk to people on the phone and things like that, I can get very easily confused. It's horrible. Tony was a bad lad, even if he accepts he had a bad attitude. Well, I'm not so sure, to be honest. I've never really. Look, you can believe whatever stories you want out there about certain players and attitudes, but what I will say about even Tony is he was young, very young, And was he given the chance? JT Toon says Mitrovic over Solanke all day for me. No brainer given the current climate. Would be nice to see a DM in alongside a right winger for one from one of PIF's Saudi teams too. Yes, I do agree with that. Right, another player on the list was Emerick Laporte. Now, of course, we know Laporte from Manchester City. He also opted to seek pastures new in the summer when he went to join Cristiano Ronaldo's team, Al Nassr. Laporte is still only 29. Now, for a man of his experience, still only 29, I think he'd be a great player. But again, is that position? Laporte, he's won everything in the game, club level, and again could help Newcastle shore up the defence at a time where injuries continue to veer. Now, look, again, do we need to shore the defence up? Do we really need to shore the defence up at the moment, or are we okay in that position? Because I think at the moment we're okay. Like we've been banging on about. It's basically, you look at the defense and you see Botman and Share back to their partnership again. You've got Lascelles covering that position. You've got Kraft who can cover that position, Dummett who can cover the position, and of course Dan Burn who can cover that position. So for me, I again think a defender is probably going to be looked at in the summer to improve the squad. Not necessarily replace anybody, but to improve the squad. He's played 21 times for Al Nassr so far this season, and he's only been on the losing side once. And that was against Al Hilal, who lead the league. So Laporte is certainly an option. But again, I don't think we need to look at defenders. And are we looking at the wrong positions, guys? Are Newcastle looking at the wrong positions at the minute? Because all the links seem to be for defenders and positions and goalkeepers and positions that we don't really need to look at the minute. But the next one on is Seko Fofana. Now, Fofana left Lens again in the summer to join Al Nassr again, with Cristiano Ronaldo. Now, he's still only 28. He's a midfielder. And according to this, the report is saying he's still plenty left to give in the game and could be a value addition to Eddie Howe's side due to Sandro Tonali's suspension. The Ivory Coast international could help add some stability to Newcastle's midfield. Midfield is definitely a position that I do think Newcastle are looking at, but it has to be a 6. It's got to be a holding midfielder for me. It has to be, because Bruno, for me, has proved that when he's further forward, he can create things. He can create magical things up front, Bruno can. And all we need is that number 6, that strong number 6, who wins the ball and can easily then give it to the more attacking players, the better players, attacking-wise, to break forward. It's crying out. We're crying out for number 6. But Fofana, interesting one. And the next player on the list is a player I would love to see come in, and that's Milinkovic-Savic. We've mentioned him on previous transfer shows because he has previously been linked in the media many, many times. Certainly since the takeover, he's been mentioned with Newcastle when he was at Lazio, of course. Very, very classy midfielder. His lung-bursting runs from midfield and a terrific passing range could help benefit the pace of Anthony Gordon and Alexander Isak. So, currently with leaders Al Hilal, the Serbian could again help United in their quest for yet another top 4 finish this season. Now, again, there's no direct links to Savic himself. I don't know whether he wants to actually leave the league and come back into Europe. He's never played in the Premier League. It would be a big move for him. And I'm sure that, if Newcastle United did come calling, there may be an interest from Savic and his representatives. I would love to see Savic at Newcastle. He's a brilliant footballer. Absolutely tremendous. And I think it would be a massive coup for the club if we could get Savic. But it's all about trying to get him away from Al Hilal. Al Hilal are top of the league. They're flying at the minute. So would Al Hilal be happy to let Milinkovic-Savic go? I don't think they would. But Al Hilal are owned by PIF. So could there be a deal done there for even just a 6-month loan? Are Al Hilal good enough to survive without Savic in their team for the foreseeable future to let him go to Newcastle? That's the questions that would have to be asked. I think out of those players I've just mentioned, Riyad Mahrez and Milinkovic-Savic would be two incredible signings for Newcastle. So what I'm saying is if we looked at 3 players to bring in, then, you know, if we didn't find a striker, Calvin Phillips at number 6, I think would do a good job for us. Milinkovic-Savic bursting forward, and Riyad Mahrez. I think if those 3, I know none of them are a striker. Riyad Mahrez has technically played there a couple of times actually for Manchester City, but he's not an out-and-out striker. However, it gives us options. And I think, you know, if those were the 3 players that we signed in this transfer window, I think most Newcastle United fans would be absolutely delighted with that. They would be delighted with those 3 signings. Let me know in the comments, if we were to go for Milinkovic-Savic, Mahrez, and Calvin Phillips, how would you feel if that was the 3 players that we brought in? And again, I know there's no striker there, but let me know what you think of those. If those were the 3 players that we brought in, honestly, I would be buzzing with that, because Milinkovic-Savic would certainly give us something going forward. So would Mahrez, and obviously Calvin Phillips back, you know, in the number 6 would shore that up and give it to the likes of Bruno and Savic and Mahrez to burst forward. Incredible. Jake says people would still mourn. I agree with that. Nathan says Mahrez surely would come back to England. I think Mahrez would jump at the hat to come to Newcastle. I really do. I genuinely think if Newcastle went in for Mahrez and said, look, you know, we're very interested in taking, you know, on loan, I think he'd be brilliant. And I think I agree with Nathan. I think Mahrez is perfect for us. We need somebody in that position where Miggy plays. You know, Murphy is, you know, coming back, I know, hopefully soon after the shoulder surgery. Miggy is very hit and miss. Mahrez is a fabulous player. Mahrez is an upgrade on Miggy and Murphy. Let's be honest. And we've always said about players that were coming into the club, we'd want better players coming in to improve us. It's no point signing players who are just going to be around the same level. We need players through the door who are going to improve us. And Mahrez, for me, is definitely better than Miggy and Murphy. No disrespect to them, but he is. So we are improving our team. Milinkovic-Savic is a standard above for me, and you know he is a quality footballer, and again would do so much for Newcastle going forward. Alan Kennedy says I still like a number 9. Absolutely, I agree. But if we weren't to get one, because look, it's not going to be easy to find a striker in this transfer window. It really isn't. January is not a great time to go and find a striker. That's the problem. And again, you're looking at the likes of, you know, you look at the likes of the Solanke rumours, okay? Solanke, Bournemouth are going to ask ridiculous money. I saw some reports yesterday linking him for 40-odd million quid. Now, come on. I know he's playing well at the moment, but Solanke ain't a 40-odd million pound striker. Not in a million years, is he? So, for me, it's not going to be easy to find a striker at all. So, you know, we need to be realistic here and think, right, if there's no striker comes through the door, what are the other positions that we can look at to help us going forward? Milinkovic-Savic and Mahrez, incredible players, and would definitely improve us going forward. You know, you've got, you know, Joe Linton, Gordon. We've got all those sort of players that can play up front. So it's not the end of the world if we were to bring in those 2 attacking options and Calvin Phillips. It's not the end of the world. I'd be delighted with that. Barry the Beast says Solanke for 40 million. I saw someone suggest 70. It's incredible. He isn't worth that much money. For a guy that's had a couple of good seasons, you've got to look at the whole career of Solanke. He hasn't done well early part of his career. He's got going now, but is this a purple patch he's going through? You know, will he, if he gets a move to a bigger club, is he going to be able to perform like he is now? Or is it literally just a purple patch? It's a massive risk to spend 40-odd million or possibly more on a player like Solanke. I just think for the money, there is just far better players out there, guys. And that's no disrespect to Solanke. He can only do what he's doing now and keep putting the ball in the back of the net. But I just think there's better. I really do. Sport Report says that would be a good loan. He would probably do it like other people are saying, but would he come on loan to Newcastle United? It depends if he would accept our deal. I don't think we will sign Solanke. Time will tell. Susan says Joe Layton has found better shooting since Eddie, but he's not a striker. 100% he's not a striker. But a one-off game, Susan, I could understand if you put him there. Maybe, just for physicality, just to rough the centre-backs up of the opposition. But I agree, he's not a striker. He's where he is now. That is his position. He is a midfielder and a one hell of a good one as well. Darren says, I'd be happy with Phillips on loan. Wait until the summer to go out and spend on improving the squad. If we don't use the Saudi League for loans, says Aaron, we're backward. Get it while we can. Nathan's not convinced on Solanke. Niall makes a good point. Garassi and then Mahrez and Phillips on loan would be a good window. Garassi's there. He's got 17.5 million quid, guys, for Garassi. That's his release clause. And for me, it's a no bloody brainer. I mean, obviously, Garassi's got to want to come to the club. If Garassi doesn't want to come to the club, then it's pointless. However, people are talking about spending 40-odd million pound on Dominic Solanke, but Garassi's there for 17.5 million, and we covered him on the transfer show the other day. So I just think it's a no-brainer. Garassi, I mean, look, Ash says there that he's overrated. Again, Garassi's going through what I believe is a purple patch. He's not really been a prolific goal scorer over the years. However, between the two of them, I'd take Garassi because it's 17.5 million pound compared to 40 odd that Bournemouth are going to be asking for. I think it's I'm not sure. Nathan says I get a bit concerned on what some of the other squad players would think if we're looking at Solanke. Peter, good morning to you. I read that Bournemouth have rejected an offer from us for Solanke. Some people are saying the approach never came, Peter. I believe there was an approach. I believe certain media outlets more than I do believe others. And I do believe that not so much an official approach, but a conversation was had. Looney Tunes says Solanke is a decent player. Everyone just saying no because he's not a sexy signing. He would hit the ground running as banging form. That's the plus point of it, Looney. That is the plus point of it, that he's obviously playing in the Premiership this season. Wouldn't need to be sort of blended in to the Premier League football like Eddie likes to do with his signings. He would be ready to go straight away. So that is a positive for the signing of Solanke, definitely. Solanke's having a purple patch like Miggy last season. For me, that's all it is. Barney says we act far too slow in these windows. Yeah, if there's one criticism I think that's been of Newcastle United in these transfer windows since the takeover is we don't seem to react very quickly. We're not getting there first before the players are linked. Certainly in the January windows, other players are taken away and gone elsewhere, before we've even had a sniff. So I think we do need to be a little bit quicker. If we sign Solanke, Eddie must go for me. I still believe Eddie will be replaced in the summer with a world-class manager, and how poor our league form has been this season. Look, I know we beat Sunderland, right? But I still think if we struggle to get points in the Premier League, the bread and butter, then Eddie will still be feeling his collar. Undoubtedly. Look, that's just fact, guys. I mean, I'm not just saying that out of the blue here. We all know that results dictate a manager's position. And if we were, I'm dreading this game against Manchester City, especially without Joe Linton. I think our midfield is incredibly weakened without Joe Linton, as well as, as good as Lewis Miley is, Sean Longstaff's not exactly in form. Miley was all over the place on Saturday. I just think from a midfield point of view, we are looking very weak in the water for this game against Manchester City. And that worries me. I've got to be honest. I'm an honest fan. I will speak on here and tell you honestly what I think, whether you agree with it or not. But I think Saturday's game against Man City is a worrying one because of who we got injured. We're missing our main physicality in the midfield, who we desperately need there. Mahrez is on 860 grand a week. Milinkovic Savic on 480. How do Newcastle cover those wages? PIF, mate. Simple as that. PIF would come to an agreement, I'm sure, of to how much each club would pay. Simple as that. Ashes, I think we'll wait until the summer for a number 9, Paul. Yeah, look, we're not. There's not been an outcry of media reports linking us to many strikers, apart from obviously this Solanke one has certainly taken off. But according to reports from Bournemouth, they're not interested in certainly this month. So, but for other strikers, very quiet. And I don't know whether that's a good thing or a worry, because sometimes when you don't hear anything, it's normally good, isn't it? You know, the less is said about it, the more that goes on behind the scenes. He's looking at him because he knows him, I think. Yeah, he does know Solanke. Of course, signed him for Bournemouth. But again, you know, we've already sort of discussed this on Eddie Howe's favourites. And is this another one that maybe, you know, Eddie Howe's thinking can do a job, but might be too big for Solanke? I don't know. Now, also, Newcastle United were interested in Andreas Christensen, who, of course, played for Chelsea, moved to Barcelona. And Newcastle were linked with him over the last couple of days. But he's not going to join Newcastle, apparently. The rumours are completely false. Even though Barcelona's financial situation is rotten, they wouldn't... the League of Giants would be open to selling Christensen to bring in some much-needed funds. Now, if you remember when he first went there, he couldn't be registered. There was a couple of players went there and couldn't be registered because of the squad and the money situation. But apparently, the rumours of Christensen to Newcastle are completely false. And in a way, I'm happy because I don't think that's a position that we need to go for. You know, we mentioned this earlier in the show. Centre back, we've got plenty cover for. I don't see any reason why we should be targeting that position when we should be targeting more positions that are glaringly obvious to the eye of a fan where we need to improve. I'm just looking through any breaking news for Newcastle, see if there's anything interesting there. Not really at the moment. What's this? Newcastle have now officially activated a clause. Let's have a look at this one. See what this says. I mean, you've got to take some of these reports with a pinch of salt. Yeah, it's talking about Isaac Hayden. Basically, they've terminated his loan deal out in Belgium at Standard Liège, and apparently he's going to be coming back to a Championship club. Those clubs interested in Isaac Hayden are Birmingham City, Sheffield Wednesday, Plymouth Argyle, and Blackburn Rovers. So I think he's going to end up back in the Championship. Look, people have said, you know, for Isaac Hayden coming back, would he fit in at Newcastle again? I think Isaac Hayden's time's been and gone. And again, I'm not being disrespectful to Isaac Hayden. I think Isaac Hayden could have done a good job, but the injury kept him out a long time, and then, you know, obviously the team and the squad moved on from players like Isaac Hayden, etc. So, listen, Hayden, for me, would do a brilliant job in the Championship. Absolutely. And I think it's good, kind of good that Newcastle are, you know, trying to find that club for him. They are helping him find a Championship club. And it'd be a good move for Isaac Hayden and bring a lot of experience to whichever team he goes to in the Championship. And hopefully do a really good job. But there you go, guys. That is the show done and dusted for this morning. Thank you very much for all your opinions in the chat. It's been a great show looking over those players that the Chronicle mentioned and what you guys think to get your opinions. That's what these shows are all about, to interact with you. That's why I'm doing most of them live now. And bringing you the news and getting your opinions live. And then people, obviously, who can't watch it live can watch it as as normal on a rerun on YouTube. So it's working out really well. And if I can't do a live, I'll try and get a video in later on in the day like I did yesterday. But again, I will reiterate, we won't take any abuse. Okay, anybody that wants to leave abuse in the comments will just be banned from being able to comment on the channel. It's no skin off our noses. We do this to interact with the subscribers and the viewers. 99.9% of them are fabulous. You always get the one person who tries to be clever and abusive, but we won't take it. Simple as that. We are just talking about media reports. It's not coming out of my mouth or Alex or Billy. It's media reports. And we will never say a player is signing for the club until the club actually tell us. And then we'll talk about the player in more detail. Yes, we can talk about media links till the cows come home, but we will never say that a player's coming in or coming for a medical until it's officially confirmed by the official people. Simple as that. So that's the way it is. But like I say, we will be back tonight at 7 o'clock, the three of us, with the match preview for the huge game against Manchester City at the weekend. Of course, we'll take a look at potential lineups, injuries, and tactics and things like that. So do join us at 7 o'clock for that. But in the meantime, guys, have a wonderful day. Please do subscribe if you are new. Keep those subscriptions coming in as we head towards 27,000. And don't forget to hit the thumbs up button, guys. Have a great day, and we'll see you again at 7 o'clock. Goodbye, folks.
Come back and check on